A few months back, I did a video about getting work done on my steep driveway, and I'll put a link below the video in the description if anybody wants to go back and check that out. Basically, at the time, they flattened it out because the hill was just a super steep pitch at first. That was really tough because I basically had to pull off the road and just step on it and gun it up and prayed I made it up. So just by taking the pitch out was a huge deal and helped out a lot. But now, as you can see, I've actually got it graveled and we widened it down here, which, oh, it helps so much. So widening it did a couple of things. For one, now if need be, I actually have space. I can park 2 vehicles here and still pass on by with another. So either 2 vehicles or my van and my cargo trailer. So let's say there's just real bad conditions, like in the winter we get a bad snow or ice storm or something like that, and I don't want to chance the hill. I could always just park down here out of the way and it's not a problem. Or if somebody coming to visit doesn't want to go up the hill or whatever, they can park right here and it's fine. But also, before it was gravel, there was one point where I slid down when it was real muddy, and I slid off the side here, and from here it just went off. So just my tire sliding off and getting stuck down there needed me to get towed out. So now it's wide enough so that even if I were to slide on down, I'm just going to come right here and just come to a stop. You know, this is a nice flat spot and it's wide, so I don't have to worry about ever getting stuck here again. You can see they built up the area with this really big heavy rock. That was kind of the fill to create that parking spot. And then on the top of it is road base gravel. So there was actually 3 loads of the heavy stuff to fill all that in, and then 1 load of the road base to cover this top here, and then another load for the hill. So it was about a total of 5 loads of gravel, and then the work. I had to clear some trees and brush out of the way here, which I was happy to do because my labor is a little cheaper than the excavators. So it was just a couple days of work. But it's nice too because it kind of opened up here. I got a little creek. It's not really flowing now because it's dry, but when it rains out, it gets about 6 feet wide because in behind all this, there's hills going down here and back there, and from this direction, and everything comes down and just comes rushing through here. So after a rain, I can come down here and enjoy a nice running creek. And that follows down from the previous video. I had shown that, you know, it runs through the culvert up underneath here and then comes out and empties here. So that little creek that comes down also empties down that way, and there's a culvert there that then runs underneath the road and over to a little pond across the street there. So that's kind of cool. I was running on just clay, and whenever that got wet, it was like slip and slide going up and down the hill. So now them having laid this layer of gravel down is so nice. It's rained a handful of times, and I've driven up and down it a couple dozen now, so it's packed tight. I mean, each time it rains or I drive on it, it just gets smoother and stronger. So that was really excellent. Getting that taken care of, it helps me so much. I just want to give a little view from the road pulling off. You can see it's nice and wide down here, which is nice. And say when you're pulling a trailer in or out, having that extra width helps out big time too, so you don't risk getting throwing a tire off the side. I don't know. I'll show the view of from the front of my property out here too. Spring in the Ouachita Mountains. It's really beautiful. The Ouachitas aren't quite as breathtaking as some of the larger mountain ranges or anything, but still, you can't deny the simple beauty of this out here. I mean, every time I come down here to just check my mail, I just look around and I'm in awe of, compared to when I used to step out my door and back in Illinois, all I stared at was dozens of other houses around me. Now I get to see mountains in the distance, and it's just incredible. There's actually a side road down the road from me here. It's named God's Country. It's pretty appropriate. Here's a little top-down view. They actually, while they were here on this side here, pushed it back, cut back about another 10 inches. So that widened it just a little bit, so I got a little more wheelbase to fit in here. But it's a nice trench, so when it rains, the water runs down that side and instead of eroding the driveway. And I actually, up near the top here, dug a little trench across so that the water kind of drains off that direction and down the hill rather than the driveway. Because as you can see from here, that's a lot of surface area of water that was just running down and then coming and washing right down the hill. So it's not only the volume of water that's destructive, but it's the velocity it's moving at. So if you can just do something like this, okay, yeah, I got to drive over a little speed bump. It ain't the biggest ordeal. But if the water naturally starts running off here, it slows it down so much. So what is going down the hill, moving so much slower, is going to be so much less damaging and causing much less erosion. Something to keep in mind. If you got a road or driveway where you're trying to preserve it a little bit, if you can't completely divert all the water off of it, at least try to slow it down a little bit, even if it's just something, just taking a shovel and creating a little ditch like that. Now, sure, a project like this does cost a little bit of money. You know, I had to reach into my pockets to take care of it. But the way I look at it is that it's just part of the cost of the purchase of the property. Because if this work was already done, I probably couldn't have even afforded this piece. So, and my excavator was saying the same thing when he was here. He's looking, you know, just getting this driveway done and then just putting a usable cabin on it. He's like, man, you've probably doubled the value of this property in the last 6 months, you know, and he's like, you probably go and sell it for, you know, a nice little bit of coin. And I'm like, yeah, that may be the case, but I'll never sell it. I just love it here. It's perfect. So, so take that message away too. You know, if you're looking to buy some property somewhere, don't completely discount something just because it has a feature that isn't perfect right off the bat. You know, I mean, this rough, when I bought it, this hill was scary, man. I mean, just totally like, oh, it's one of those like, this is the dream property except for the hill. But now you look, it's perfectly usable. You know, it doesn't matter if it's raining or whatever. I can come and go no problem now. It took some money and some work. But if you're willing to do that to a property, you might end up with much better property than you could have afforded otherwise. You know, if one property you're looking at costs 150 grand and it doesn't need any work, but there's one that costs 100 grand and needs 10,000 put into it, but it'll end up with that work being even nicer than the more expensive property. I mean, don't discount it. Sure, it sucks. You know, it's taken time. It's taken me you know, there was a lot of frustration coming and going, but now that the work is done, it's like it's done, and I feel great about it. So taking a look at property, just give something like this a chance, because now this is as perfect as it could be for me. It's paradise.